Palworld. Extra, extra, hear all about it. Hey guys, and welcome to the podcast that's just a knockoff. I'm the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater on all platforms, and joining me today from Twitch's Graveyard, we have Gavin.
Well,
So how you doing today?
I'm all right.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're not pissed off or anything.
I don't know. I'm still pissed, but
Oh, we're dealing with some stuff at work. But that's neither here nor there. We got an exciting episode today. And I'm excited. I dropped the ball last week for the podcast, and I don't intend on doing that again. I don't know, I just kind of had a mental crash where I didn't want to do any work at all. But that's not very responsible of me, and I have a lot of people that are relying on me to be responsible, so I gotta kick myself in the ass. So, this is Extra Extra, your weekly gaming news podcast covering the news leading up to Sunday, January 28th, 2024. Here soon we're going to be recording a very special episode. I know that I said this is a special episode, but a very special episode, so keep your eye on that next week. But for now, let's go to his very special world, full of friends. Let's call them pals, all right? So we're going to go to this pal world, so to speak. So, Palworld has surpassed Counter-Strike's concurrent player record on Steam. This is from Tom Ivan at BGC. Only PUBG Battlegrounds has attracted a larger number of concurrent players in history. But I don't know what that's the subtitle, but it already said, I don't know. On Tuesday, the game hit 1,864,000 concurrent players. That saw it overtake Valve's 1,818,000 concurrent players in May of 2023. The only game that has attracted more concurrent players, PUBG Battlegrounds, currently holds the record of, holy shit, 3,257,000 set in January of 2018. That's crazy. I do remember when PUBG was literally everything. And then, of course, Pocket Pair, the developer, thanked everyone on X. And it's also available on Game Pass, which makes it even more crazy because you can get that game by paying a subscription service. Like, you don't even have to buy it, but it still is being bought on Steam. What do you think about this story?
About
It's it's set the well. It's basically second place for uh most players playing it at once. No other game has, except for PUBG. PUBG is the only game that's had more players playing it at once.
I mean, game of the year contender, maybe.
Maybe there's a lot going into it, which we'll get into because, as I said, this is the Palworld episode, baby. Um. So I I'm excited to see such a small developer have so many concurrent players. As I mentioned, we're going to get to some controversies kind of that have gone on with this, but good for them. Good for the developer. I just that's crazy number, and I guess I did mention that this is in addition to it being on Game Pass, which has a lot of um, has a lot of all you have to do is pay a subscription. You don't have to buy it like you do on Steam. I will say,
I think the funniest thing about it is that like one is a small team, but two, they didn't know how to develop games at all. Like they learned on the job,
yeah,
and like they were using Unity, but it was like not working out very well, so they had to switch to Unreal. None of them knew how Unreal worked, so they had to learn how to do that. And the fucking models and all that shit was made by some middle schooler that was working at a convenience store.
oh really? I didn't even know about any of that. Well, that's
Yeah,
gonna make
they literally was like the whole concept of them giving these pals guns was like their entire thought process behind it was like, well, Americans like shooting things, so
hmm. And unfortunately, they're not wrong. Uh, but that'll make the next story interesting. The I will say, as far as the Game Pass in Steam thing, if I remember correctly, you can have a lot more people playing on your world on Steam than you can on Xbox. I think there's a player limit on Xbox, and there's the player limit's much less than it is on Steam.
yeah.
So that's probably why there's more people playing on Steam than on Game Pass. But that's neither here nor there. That it's I'm intrigued by the game. I've been distracted by other things, so I haven't played it yet. I do love how like the advertising is Pokemon with guns, but I reference Kind of Funny on this podcast all the time. Snowbike Mike from Kind of Funny mentioned that it's not Pokemon with guns as much as it is Ark meets Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's much more of that style of like survival than it is catch and battle and like that. There's elements of that in there, but it's
but
it's
that's
more
the intrigue
survival.
of it. Is catching Pokemon and letting them use gun
Yeah.
and sweatshop.
Oh yeah. Um. Okay. So. All right. So before we move on to the newer stories, all of this, I mean, that the one we just did is a newer story, but I wanted to give them their flowers before we talk about the story that's been breaking. That broke the day that, or the day after this, the last episode was supposed to come out of this podcast. And that's their plagiarism accusations. So several artists came out on Twitter and accused it of copying the 3D models from Pokemon and then altering those 3D models into something else. And they had like side by sides. There's also at one point the accusation of them using AI, and that's how everything looks like Pokemon. I don't know, man. Like, they were pretty blatant in the advertising. Hey, this is inspired by Pokemon, and we're gonna get into it with another story. We've known about this game for 2 years. This game has been shown off at summer showcases for 2 years. It's on Game Pass. Microsoft made a deal with them. You think Microsoft, with all of their legal teams, did that without looking over the legal ramifications first? But yeah, so I get it. They do look similar, but that's because they never hid the fact that it was inspired by Pokemon. And even then, like, I'm looking at one of the designs, and it's Cinderace. And then there's a green pal that looks kind of similar to Cinderace, and they're arguing, oh, they took the neckline from Arcanine's Super Evolution, which definitely was not stolen from Digimon, the Digivolves. They took the ears from Leafeon and the coloration, because it is supposed to be a, quote, grass, and then they took the body of Cinderace, and it's like, and then the tail of Flareon. There's, at that point, if you have to name 4 different Pokemon that it stole from, here's the thing with copyright. It has to be pretty blatant. Like, with designs, you can argue that that's inspired by. It's going to be tough in court to say that this PAL design is stolen or even plagiarized. Let me tell you, there's a great video essay on YouTube by a guy named H Bomber Guy. I recommend looking him up. He's a funny dude. In that he, at the beginning, he addresses the last major plagiarism case. That was a victory for the artist. It was in the 70s. There have been minor plagiarism cases that have been won. There have not been major plagiarism cases because it's tough to. It has to be blatant, as I mentioned. It can't just be, oh, there's a vagueness, vague resemblance. It has to be, you have to be able to tell. And yeah, listen, I get it. You want to be safer than sorry. And there's definitely, like, I've looked at trailers and I was like, that's just a flat out Pokemon. But that's what they're going for. Like, if the Pokemon Company and Nintendo, with how litigious they are, if there was anything, they would have sued in the last 10 years that we've known about this game. Every time it's shown, we would have known. But yeah, one last thing before we move on to the next story. One more thing. This is what everyone's up in arms about. This, like, they were very blatant in the trailers. Like I said, they've been showing trailers for the last 2 years. They've been very blatantly showing these designs in the trailers the past 2 years. You're getting upset about this? You can fucking sell humans in this game. You can enslave tiny creatures in this game, and you're getting upset about, oh, we gotta protect a fucking corporation? Are you serious?
I was gonna say a really fucked up joke, and I was like, it's a podcast. I can't really do that.
You don't need to protect a corporation. Like, the artists at that corporation, sure, but their designs they make the designs, and the designs are owned by a corporation. You don't need... how many stories have we gone through where so-and-so video game company decided to make this really stupid decision, and now they're getting rid of half their staff? What? Why are you protecting these people? Or it's not even people, these corporations, these entities that don't care about you, don't care about their employees, they just care about their money. Why do you... I'm going to stop, because the fact that... I get it. You want to protect the artists. The artists aren't really getting hurt here. It's the corporation itself. Ken Sugimori has been the Pokemon designer forever. Everyone knows who Ken Sugimori is. He gets his flowers a lot, and he probably deserves more flowers. And I know they brought in some more Pokemon designers as they've gotten farther along. Ken Sugimori is lucky if he gets any portion of the profits his designs get. For all the Pikachu merchandise, I doubt he gets a dime. You're not actually protecting him by getting mad about this. You're protecting the Pokemon Company, who, let's face it, kind of a shitty company. I'm gonna say it. Kind of shitty company. They make cheap merchandise, they make cheap games, and they know that it's going to keep making money, so why put more money into the product when just slapping their little electric rat on it will automatically give them sales? So, I'm gonna get off my soapbox now. People don't like me on my soapbox, but holy shit, this shit annoys me. All right, next story for Palworld. Speaking of, the Pokemon Company confirms it's investigating Palworld. The Pokemon Company has broken its silence regarding the mega hit Palworld. On Thursday, they released a statement confirming it was investigating if the game infringed on its IP rights. We've received many inquiries. I don't know how you say that word. I've heard it both ways. Regarding another company's game released in 2024. Basically, they got narcs. Oh, I gotta protect this company. Company? Did you know that they're doing this nasty, nasty thing? Anyway. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture every Pokemon and its world and bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. Do you have anything to say about this? I kind of didn't let you speak on the controversy. You can speak on that too if you want.
I don't really have anything to say.
I mentioned this before. I've mentioned it a couple times before. I'm going to mention it again because I can actually look that up. Hold on. Okay. December 4th, 2022. Oh, no. That's interesting. It says official reveal trailer, but that's not the reveal trailer because there's another trailer for Palworld from May 24th, 2022. In other words, May of 2022, which isn't really that far away from 2-year mark that I've been saying, is when it was revealed.
Yeah.
And they knew. Oh, and I'm actually finding another one from June of 2021. So, like, they've known. There's no way Pokemon Company has not seen this.
Right.
They have seen this. They have talked to their legal team, and their legal team has said there's nothing they can do. They're putting out the statement now, but they've already done their research on this. There's no way they haven't seen this and gone, "Oh, this exists." They've known. It was, for God's sake, it was at a Jeff Keighley show, and Nintendo in particular, not necessarily Pokemon Company, they typically do their own thing. Nintendo is buddy-buddy with Jeff Keighley, which, again, if there was actually any issue, I don't think Jeff Keighley has it at his show because he wants to stay buddy-buddy with Nintendo. He's had some of their biggest announcements at his shows. They've seen it. You cannot convince me they haven't seen it. They haven't looked at it. They know. Xbox looked at it before they signed the deal. There's no way they didn't just sign the deal and be like, "Oh, I hope Nintendo doesn't look into this." They looked into it ahead of time. before they made a contract with them. Steam just had an issue with the Pokemon company recently. There's no way Steam was like, oh, well, I guess we're going to get into it with the Pokemon company again. Steam is being very careful. This game, nothing will come of it. Nothing will come of it. I don't know who it was now. There was, how I got back into YouTube videos. I mean, we've gone through YouTube videos that I did back in high school. How I got back into doing YouTube videos is there's a very old American adaptation of a anime properties, plural, that I liked, or I still like, but I haven't done a video about it in a while. And I was looking up videos for it, and I could not find any videos about this in the same way that I could for, say, Ruby, or Red vs. Blue, or Seinfeld, or The Office. Like, there was no videos about this property. And so I started making videos about it. And they have also been very litigious. Now, it since has come out that they were litigious because the Japanese rights holders, because they have the international rights, the Japanese rights holders are like, no, we insist that you file lawsuits against these people. And so they've been very litigious on behalf of their Japanese counterpart. And so one of the things they did is there is a mech D&D, a game that's very popular. I forget what it's called. I want to say it's Battle Mech or something like that. Battletech, maybe? But it's pretty popular, and it had some designs in that book that were designs from this particular anime property. And and so I was watching a YouTube video about this particular lawsuit, and he's like, there's not enough here for you to be able to sue. They're similar, but it has to be clear. As I mentioned before, it has to be a clear breach. And none of these designs, as much as I've made jokes, none of the designs that have been shown in these comparisons, I can safely say, oh, that's just a flat out rip. That being said, there's been some conversations about, other, quote, Pokemon knockoffs, which is somewhat debatable. Like, for instance, the biggest one that's brought up is Digimon having their own visual identity and not actually using the Pokemon visual identity. Which, I appreciate the conversation. It is an interesting point. Counterpoint, Digimon is not a Pokemon ripoff. If you actually look at its origin, it's a Tamagotchi ripoff. Digimon is Tamagotchi ripoff. That's how they started. So, think about that next time you try to say that it's a Pokemon ripoff. Nerds. But, yeah. That's all I'm gonna do to harp on this particular thing. The next one is a separate story entirely, so we can get away from all the controversial stuff, and I stop repeating the same things I repeated over and over again. But fact of the matter is, the case is done. It's over. It was already over before the game even came out. All right. Last story. Pocket Pair has released Palworld's early access roadmap. So in case you didn't know, like we've talked about how it's out on early access, similar to many other games of its ilk. So the roadmap that is now viewable, it provides an overview of the fixes and new features the studio is planning for the hit. Obviously, that's what a roadmap is, but for those of you who don't know, I'm not going to assume everyone knows everything about video games, but for those of you who don't know, that's what a roadmap is. It's we're going to do this at this time and this at this time. And, so the early access roadmap. First and foremost, addressing critical issues. Currently, numerous bugs have been identified, and we are prioritizing fixing those. Sometimes the world date may experience rollbacks. The loading screen may persist when trying to load into worlds, and so on. And then improvements to implement ASAP. Key configuration improvements. Improvements to base... Oh my god. My phone's going off because Gavin is texting my wife repeatedly.
Sorry.
Anyway. Let's see. We're improvements to base PAL AI and pathing. Uh-oh, they said AI. And people were accusing them of using AI to steal Pokemon. They just confirmed it in their roadmap. I'm so smart. Planned future updates. Updates to PvP. Or I guess adding PvP, probably. Raid bosses for in-game content. PAL Arena, which is PvP for pals. Steam and Xbox crossplay. That's what I would love. Various Xbox feature improvements. Server transfers and migrations. Improvements to the building system. New islands, pals, bosses, and technologies.
Heard nothing in that roadmap about them adding it to PlayStation, though.
No, so that was a minor story that I didn't end up adding. Someone asked when it was coming to... Was it this game? Or was it another game? Maybe it was a different game. I can't remember. So much has gone on. Today, the workday was... Whew. Anyway, I think it was Palworld. Someone was asking about it. And they're like, we're looking into it, which if they haven't even started development yet, we may not even see Palworld on PlayStation until the PS6.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Although who knows how long that'll take, because fucking PlayStation 5 startup wasn't very big.
Yeah, I think this console generation might actually last a little bit longer, just because the pandemic made it hard for people to get their hands on systems. So I think Sony and
not only that, but
Microsoft...
like when PS4 came out, like that's probably I think a year or two before like the PS5 was even like really in that. Like obviously there was talk about a PS5 being made, but like there was no like concrete. This is what the PS5 is going to be. Like a year or two before that came out, like they ended up shutting down all the PlayStation Store services on PS3
Mm-hmm.
because all that shit. So I'd assume they probably end up doing the same with PS4 if the PS6 is about to start coming out.
Yep. The digital world we live in, baby. But yeah, no, I just think with both Microsoft and Sony, I think are gonna have longer lifespans for this, just because they didn't get the big initial boom that they wanted, so now they have to make up for it.
It's not even that they didn't get the initial boom they wanted; they just didn't get the initial boom that they usually do get with a new console because of all the shit going on with hardware to make the shit. Like they just couldn't get it at that time.
Yeah. So yeah, literally you
Not
scroll
anything.
through.
My little brother was on a wait list for a year
Yeah.
to get a PS5.
So
And he forgot about it. And then he got an email. He's like, "The fuck is this?" He's like, "Oh shit."
yeah, there's one person I know. They had subscribed to a bunch of like Twitter and like Facebook bots, basically, where like the bots scour the internet and they're like, oh, there's a sale about to go down now. They'll post whenever a sale is about to go down, like a big drop. And then it's like, okay, and he would see that notification and he'd immediately hop on and try to buy one. And he got first try, he bought one and it was successful. He got the receipt. He's like, awesome. Don't need to worry about this anymore. Went to bed, woke up, and they're like, oh yeah, too many people bought it, so we're canceling your order.
Wow.
He got it while he was asleep. So then he was like, all right, I guess I'll try again. And yeah. Fun stuff. Oh, it's night time for me. So let's go ahead and end this. So Palworld, a lot of people are enjoying. So I play it if you want to, or don't, because of your reasoning. Which if you have your own reasons, that's fine. I did go a little hard today on. It's just I'm tired of corporations, man. Let's burn capitalism to the ground and start over. That's we gotta do something, something about this capitalism. But if you liked or even if you didn't like this podcast, make sure to do all of the things, like hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button and hitting that bell at the XofPlays on YouTube, or giving a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow, and I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefingroom, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.